Hello, people of the internet. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, a happy Sunday to you all. We are back. It is the same day. It is about an hour and a bit later. Finished all the uploads for today. I've gone off and made myself a nice cold dinner to compensate for how hot it is today. And I am well stuffed full of very good food. It may or may not have crumbs on me, but ignore that if you can see that. It's like 8:30 in the evening. And we have 5 more on and off songs to get through today. Partially because, well, I'm up for it, and also the other half being, well, City of On and Off, we only had 3 new songs. I didn't feel like be doing a disservice to only stop it there. So, we're going to finish up the kind of WM day, because we had 2 Cheon releases, and now we're going to have the 2 on and off releases. We're going to stay in the WM lands. We're going to go through the entire Popping album. Good memories with Popping, man. I remember when this song first popped up on Spotify Artist Radio or something like that for I forget who. I remember listening to it because I didn't see the MV. I listened to the song first, and I was thinking like, "Oh, this is such a nice tropical song. It's so happy." And then I saw the MV like 3-4 months later, and of course the Popping trauma kicks in. It's like, wait a minute. But, well, we get to experience that again, because we get to watch the MV again, and for the first time ever, I get to experience the B-sides, because I am pretty confident in saying that I have never heard of any of the B-sides on this album. And considering, well, you know, we're in the middle of the summer season now, like actual weather season, it's very hot, and we have an entire album of Yorim-based songs, I thought it was very appropriate. So, let's dive into it. Here we go! And let's get moving sharpish. Track number 1, the title track, Yorim-sok, or Popping, as we know it here in the non-Korean speaking world. Lyrics by Hwang Hyun and Wyatt. Composition and arrangement done by Hwang Hyun. Now, I am very familiar with this song, so apologies if I turn it into a norebang session. Bump up the ears. Lights are on. Recording is good.
Hey you there, please don't sing that song. Come closer, can you feel somebody's coming? Let's get low, let me sing a song for love. Hey my dear, can you feel somebody's coming?
I don't know what it is, but I find that this fits so cute to me. It's just... The way Yu delivers that kind of like syncopated rhythm is so satisfying to listen to. Like this portion is so happy and it's so cute. And look how much fun they're having. I was looking at like when this album was released. They had a really busy turnaround in 21, didn't they? Because this was September, right? No, August. The repackage was end of April, and the album was like February. That's a crazy turnaround time. And let the death begin. know what? Question of the day for you. What were your impressions when you saw this MV for the first time? Please tell me, because I'm so curious. Wait for it. What a key. Ah, there he is. Mr. Villain. Here's the thing. This MV takes you on a journey. But this song is like the embodiment of bright summer, right? All it's missing is like steel pans. Like to be the ultimate like summer song, all you're missing is like tropical instruments. Everything else about it screams summer. It's bright. It's happy. It's unashamedly bright. And if you go through like the on and off discography, if you're just going off of like what the songs sound like, they've done bright songs before. I find Complete a very bright song. To be a very bright song. Beautiful, Beautiful, a very bright song. Love Effect, a very bright song. Popping is a very bright song, but it's a completely different ballgame. It's like what's a good sports analogy here? I don't have one. Oh no! Oh, I fumbled the bag. I was sounding so smart there for a second. Oh man. You know what? Screw the analogy. We're just gonna run with it. I mean, it is marketed as the summer pop-up album, so it makes sense why it's got the warm, bright, summery vibe to it. Even considering that, the brightness that Popping has is like unmatchable to me. There's certain groups that have done a really bright summery concept that I've always like gone back and listened to. April's Now or Never. Brave Girls is Chimaparam. What are some other ones? I'm trying to think back on the summer place because I haven't started listening to that yet. But ultimately, without even knowing it, back when I really found On and Off last year. Oh, I guess I should rephrase that. When I started to learn about On and Off last year, by that point, I'd already known about Popping, and I'd already gotten a ton of mileage out of this song, right? That hasn't changed. And probably that won't change. And with On and Off's discography, especially when it comes to their title tracks, it's so hard to pick a favorite. I will always have the most memorable title track in your song. That won't change. But all the title tracks bring something so different to the table, and yet this time of year, dead middle of summer, when it's hot, Popping gives so much energy to the listener, and it's perfect, because you can have so much fun with this song. And with the MV, well, the MV is a completely different story. I'm not like a cinematographer or anything like that. But yes, again, please tell me what your first impressions were about the MV. Because this, for me, is like the quintessential example of don't let the visual affect how you perceive the song. Because essentially, until the MV reaches verse 2, it's perfectly fine. It's, bright, summery, happy. They're all like playing out in the sunshine. When verse 2 comes around, now we're starting to change the plot of the story on screen. But the song hasn't changed. And by the time you finish the MV, the song and the MV, on paper, does not look like they should have anything to do with each other. That's so cool to me. we keep her moving. We have a self-cam for track number 2, 여름 시, summer poem. Let's see. Lyrics by Hwang Hyun and Y. Composition Hwang Hyun and Min Kyun with Hwang Hyun on arrangement. So we have yet another Min Kyun composition. Hell yes.
우린 보사노바에 취해 여름밤 향기를 빌려 마음의 소리를 불러 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 오늘 밤이 바람이 너와
Oh, it's snappy. And I don't mean literally. I mean like the pacing of it is.
너와 나의 합주 This is real music 봄별 가가 다시 돌아오는 앞에 급상승하는 건 온도뿐만 아닌 우리 바람아 헛되고 나만
With the way the song started, I did not imagine it going this direction.
우린 보사노바에 취해 마음의
This one's really quiet.
소리처럼 흘러나와 여름밤 향기를 빌려 너에게 들려주려 해 나의 모든 맘을 좋아해 좋아해
Initially, when the song started, I thought it was going to be kind of like beachside, like Copacabana, like really chill, tiki hut, like bar, sunset, really chill vibes. It's got a lot of bounce.
지워지지 않은 모든 기억이 조각이 가끔씩 마음을 찌를 때도
And now that we've got the
너라면 너와 함께라면
shoulder strings like pizzicato section, it's got this pluckiness to it.
마음의 소리가 노래처럼 흘러나와 여름밤 향기를 빌려 너에게 들려주려 해 나의 모든 맘을 좋아해 이 순간을
I almost did not clock that that middle person there was Wyatt, because his voice had that treble-loaded sparkle to it. Very cool. Autofocus struggling there.
저기 달이 잠들고 여기 모두 돌아가도 우리의 연주
Build it back. And now we've got this almost like playful swing to it. What a cool song. It's got a lot of like little plot twists from what I anticipating to happen. And that's super neat. Because it's keeping me on my toes. And of course we have the post credits. He was just not having it. Who is that off camera?
Will?
Is that you off camera? Is this entire compilation just gonna be of you just not dealing with it? Hi Yishin. Bye Yishin. Hi Yishin. Yeah, I'd mentioned this on the past couple of like self-cam MVs, but oh. But I love self-made MVs. There's just something so wholesome and so happy, but also like so connected to the artists themselves that I love listening to. Summer Poem, though, as a song, is almost misleading to an effect, and that's really interesting. Really interesting to me. Because the song progresses in one direction, and it's like, okay, I bet it's gonna go this way, and then it doesn't, and then I start feeling that second vibe, and then I'm thinking, oh, it's gonna change to this, and then it goes a completely different direction, and it's like, and maybe that's just me jumping the gun a little bit, which I oftentimes do when it comes to listening to new music, but like listening to it and figuring out what's gonna happen, and then once that moment happens, go in that different direction. It's like, oh, it surprises me at every corner, and that's very interesting to me. It's not as bright as I thought it was going to be, but it's also not as chill as I thought it was going to be. Because I thought at the beginning it was going to be super laid back, and maybe, possibly, that elusive non-third track ballad. And no, it kicked up the energy a little bit. But when that chorus comes around, it's not like a big, bright, summery chorus. It actually holds it back a little bit. Very interesting. Right, we keep her moving. Track number 3, Yorome Moyang, Summer Shape. Lyrics by Song Go-eun of Mono Tree. Composition, Song Go-eun of Mono Tree. Arrangement, Hwang Hyun and Jun_P of Mono Tree. There's the track number 3 ballad. Or at least I hope it is. Written in a nice slow 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
끝도 없이 아름다운 너와 이대로도 그냥 좋아 오늘 또 널 보니 새로운 마음이 태어난 것 같아서 익숙한 풍경
Wow, that ramp up was really cool.
깊어진 만큼 다양한 여름의 모양
It's also quite loud now.
사랑해서 널 그려낼 수도 써낼 수도 없어
They market this as that summer album, right? Still very loud. But this is very Christmassy, which I think is super cool. This like percussion section with like the brushed percussion, with this almost Vince Guaraldi piano section. The very slow, broad bass hits. Yeah, I think that kind of flipped seasons musically. It makes a really cool concept. Because this very much just feels like a winter ballad now. But they're clearly singing Yorome. I feel like I should be like cuddled up in a blanket next to a fireplace with a mug of hot cocoa. Even though it's July and it got up to 40 degrees today. Hello, string glissando. gosh. Summer Shape is an extremely classy song. Like, really classy. There's a refinement to it that feels old school, but it also feels like expensive. It feels like three-piece suit with a watch on a chain and maybe a cigar. Like, it's that kind of expensive to me. And it really comes down to that piano for me. I mean, the entire instrumental definitely sells the kind of expensiveness of it, but for me, it's the piano that really establishes that wintry aesthetic to it. And it's, well, especially for us who grew up in the West, so like in your Americas and your Europe's, but especially in America, you'll have your radio station. Well, if you're my age, you would have probably grown up on radio stations. You'd listen to them in the car. As soon as Thanksgiving was over, there would be at least one channel on the radio that would switch over from pop music to purely Christmas music. And when you get the kind of like 60s Christmas type music, from the eras of like Bing Crosby and stuff, you get this type of piano with the brush percussion and the twinkling pianos that feels like the flashing Christmas lights that's like hidden underneath some snow on the edge of someone's roof in the suburbs. And then you have this really pretty, really dreamy, really floaty vocal top line. And I'm pretty sure I completely missed the fact, but vocalist Wyatt, once again, welcome back, sir. But it's that whole idea of this was dropped in the peak of summer, and yet On and Off's go-to track number 3 ballad is wintry. Wintry, yet they're still singing about summer. Or at least I'm assuming they're still singing about summer, considering in the choruses you oftentimes hear the words Yoram over and over. And that's so neat to me. The kind of whole contrast idea of, or not contrast, but like the counterpoint idea of if you're trying to push a certain topic, that you go with the complete other direction of it. And this for me, like, is it a standout ballad for me in terms of their discography? I mean, it is a ballad in their discography. I'll have to listen to it a little bit more, but it's accounting for the entire context of the release and like the sound that they went with. I think this is the most clever of ballads that they've done for me. Is it my favorite? I don't know yet. But clever, very, extremely. It's also, I just saw that was almost 4 minutes long. My goodness. Wow. 2021, my goodness. Anyways, track number 4, Yorome Ondo, Dry Ice. Lyrics by GDLO, Inner Child, and Wyatt. Composition, score and megatone from 13, Inner Child, Hwanghyun from Monotree, and Minghyun, with score and megatone from 13 on arrangement. So we have got a joint music team. All right. Also another MK track.
A man who needs
No introduction. Hello, EDM on and off. Okay, with that impactful of an intro, I was not expecting a swing beat. Okay, so we're kind of going along the lines of My Genesis, except instead of going with hard rock and lounge jazz, we're going hard EDM and this kind of sassy swing beat. You know, it's thinking back on it. It has been a hot minute since we've gotten an EDM on and off song, hasn't it? Like, we've gotten plenty of digital on and off, but nothing of like this intensity of EDM in a hot minute. Also kind of reminds me of I Do a little bit. Just the way it's got the really punchy EDM synths that kick in on the drops. It's amazing how well they can do that genre switch. It's like, you know, this time period in K-pop, we're starting to see more and more of that mid-song genre switch. That big mid-song genre switches. Turns out On and Off have been doing mid-song genre switches like multiple times throughout their songs. Ooh. So if they keep this beat going for the bridge, are we gonna have the big release for the final chorus then? Hold on a second. Let them cook. That's so smart. You break the AB action for the final chorus so you have the impact of that EDM drop for the big drop. Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. It's got that cut. You know, On and Off have done some experimental stuff, in my opinion. And usually they pull it off. Dry Ice, for me, though, is just very well put together. And it's really... I'm going to refer back to my Genesis Ubermensch a couple times through this, just because it's very fresh in my mind, considering I listened to it, you know, not even 3 hours ago for the first time. But yeah, this era of K-pop was really interesting because, of course, this isn't like a revolutionary thing, but we started to see it more and more, the big mid-song genre switch. A lot of SM groups are doing, like, I remember Super Junior's House Party must have been around this time when it dropped. And it was a really nice party to it, and then all of a sudden, second verse kicks in, and it's like this really just hard-hitting tune. And you're left wondering, how did we get here? Well, throughout this year, I think, right? Yeah, throughout 2021, I'm pretty sure we saw the likes of NMIX's OO, and then moving on into 22, I think, aespa's Next Level had a mid-song genre switch. Of course, NMIX's Dice was 22. But we started seeing that more and more. And sometimes it paid off, sometimes it didn't. That's it, ultimately entirely subjective and entirely personal opinion. But I'm realizing that it doesn't have to be one big cut and then straight back. You can kind of assign certain phrases in a song, a certain genre, and then switch back and forth whenever that pattern occurs. And you can still get a cohesive song. Because On and Off haven't just done it once, they've done it twice in the span of 4 months. Dry Ice, really cool, because we've gone really quite different directions once again. Like, with My Genesis, it's got the hard rock, it's got the crunchy hard rock element, and it's got the, like, the lounge jazz element. Very different, but if you really boil it down, like, historically, you'll kind of end up in similar places. But if you're going with this kind of smooth, like, sassy, almost R&B type beat, with just pure, almost EDM, I don't even know what subgenre of EDM this would be, but you get my point. It's just entirely digital. You're really coming at it from different sides of the musical sphere. And yet, it feels like a cohesive song. And they flip-flop so many times. and it still feels cohesive. That's so cool. Wow. And one final song, track number 5, Yorum Kut, sorry. Summer End. Very fitting title to finish. Lyrics by Hwang Hyun and Wyatt, composition and arrangement by Hwang Hyun. Why am I getting city pop vibes from this? There's some tasty synth work going on too. Wow. It reminds me of like your 90s jazz fusion scene. Ooh. It feels Japanese, weirdly enough. Like that corner of the Japanese jazz fusion and city pop scene. It doesn't feel out of place from that corner. That's cool. What is happening here? Nope, okay. Just like is a very high energy song for what I'm about to say. This feels like a lullaby to me. Like I'm feeling super relaxed listening to this. It's just really relaxing. And for a song that gives off that vibe, it's really high energy. But it's so smooth. I'm so glad they put octave harmonies in there. It's essentially unison vocals, apart from, I'm guessing, Wyatt in the lower octave, but it adds a nice, rich texture to it. It just adds to the grooviness of it. Whoever's in charge of synths on this song is putting in work. And a bona fide finish to boot. Okay, I am very pleasantly surprised with Summer End. It's unbelievably pretty, and I'm honestly surprised we haven't really gone this direction before with On and Off. Because I feel like, you know, the guys from over at Monotree know a thing or two about a good synth part, and we've seen that. They are very good at doing synthesizers. In fact, I find Monotree to be one of the most reliable when it comes to using synthesizers. And Hwang Hyun, having been involved with On and Off for so long, he understands what types of synthesizers really work with On and Off. But I've been curious about if On and Off would do city pop at any point, because they've got the range to do it. I just didn't expect it on the summer album of all things. Huh. But it's so good. It's terrific. I think they captured the nuances of the genre really well, but it still feels very on and off. It's quite good fun, how pretty much most on and off songs are. It's quite good fun to listen to, and it's very pretty. And I mentioned earlier that it kind of feels lullaby because it's got that really calming, almost lulling effect to it when I listen to it. And I mean that in the best way possible. I don't mean that, it's a lullaby because it's boring and it's putting me to sleep. No, it's a lullaby because I'm so relaxed listening to it. I can just I feel like I'm sleeping on a cloud or something of that nature where I just don't really need to do anything. I'm suspended in nothingness and just enjoying the music for what it is. And that's really neat. Oh. Do we get any more city pop from On and Off moving forward? I mean, we only have two more new albums to go through after this, and we don't have that many new songs. I think we only have a grand total of 10 songs, really, before we start getting into the special singles and stuff. But city pop On and Off is a vibe, and I want more of it. Yeah. Wow. And you know what? In typical On and Off fashion, they market this as a summer pop-up album, but really, you don't get like one flavor of summer at all. In fact, apart from the title track, you can argue that this doesn't feel like a summer album at all. I think lyrically it's very important, and unfortunately, I don't know Hangul well enough to understand what the lyrics mean by ear, apart from the word Yoram that gets mentioned throughout certain songs. But it's a very clever album. All things said, it's a very clever album. And once again, we get that ballad in the middle. I I I wonder whose decision that is for On and Off to put their ballad on track number 3. It doesn't even matter how long the song is. Track number 3 will always be a soft ballad or a soft song of sorts. That's such an interesting choice because usually pop groups hold off the ballad until the end. And, On and Off have held off the ballad until the end before. It happened with 86,400, right? 86,400 Nishiyojikan. It was the last song on the album, I think. I might be wrong on that, so don't quote me on it. But, they don't exclusively put the soft ballad in the middle. But we still get a track number 3 ballad every single time. That's such an interesting choice. But in terms of memorable B-sides, I think Dry Ice is an experience. But Summer End, just genre-wise, is, I feel like, an untapped market for On and Off. And I don't know how popular city pop is in South Korea at this point in time, because of course we'll get Brave Girls' We Ride coming up here soon, I think, in terms of like the K-pop timeline. Because I'm pretty sure this is around the time where Roland had made its like resurgence, and they were bringing out they were working on Chimabaram. I think was Chimabaram this summer or was it next summer? Let's find out. Actually, I'm gonna waffle for a little bit because I have a thought where I'm going with this. But when it comes to city pop, I think it's a really niche genre that doesn't get a whole lot of attention just because it's different, right? And it's not a big punchy genre. City pop is very chill, very laid back, and if we're approaching this at this time of year, oh, We Ride was way before this. I didn't realize We Ride was 2020. Oh yeah, no, We Ride was like a year before this. Chimabaram was a month and a half before the Poppin' album. Okay, so we would have had city pop and K-pop at this point. And The idea of city pop in the summer, I think, is a very out of the box idea, but completely ignoring the whole summer vibe or the summer kind of concept, so to speak, with this album, finishing the album with city pop, I think, is so smart. And that's why Summer End for me is that very clever B-side, like, and that's gonna take B-side of the album for me. Having said that, track of the album, I think, has to be Popping. Popping is just a spectacular song for the time of year. It's unashamedly bright, and it's unashamedly fun. And I will forever listen to that song with a smile on my face, as I can just walk down the road with an extra pep in my step and sing along to it or hum along to it. And in the back of my mind, I'll always remember that people die in this MV. In fact, everyone dies in this MV apart from Evil Hyojin. Anyways, that is going to be it for this week's On and Off stuff. We covered a lot. We got 2 albums done, which is very impressive, if I do say so myself. We have Goosebumps next week. Yep, we have Goosebumps next week. Oh, we get to cover Whistle. I've been meaning to get to that. And then the week following that, we'll have Storage of On and Off, which I have back there. What we're going to do with Storage of On and Off, we'll go through the first 5 songs, the new song, or all the new songs, and then we'll play the remasters in the background while I unbox that Storage of On and copy of Storage of On and Off that I have back there. And if everything goes according to schedule, Storage of On and Off is going to be dropping on the 21st. This isn't guaranteed yet because there's some bureaucratic red tape that our program is running at the moment, but I'm scheduled to partake in a field research trip to mainland China from the 20th to the 28th. But there's been some visa stuff going on that the Chinese government have changed in the last 48 hours, and the status of that trip is kind of up in the air. But regardless, I'll schedule Storage of On and Off for the 21st, and we'll get Goosebumps next week. So keep your eyes peeled for that, of course, if you are interested. But that is going to be it for me today. Thank you all for listening along with me. Hopefully you enjoyed it as much as I did. One last request from me today: let us work together as a community to bring a little bit of extra happiness back into the world, whether it be checking in with your friends and family, holding the door open for somebody, or even picking a piece of trash off the street. Just one small act of kindness that may brighten up someone else's day to day. And know that wherever you are in the world, should you ever be going through a tough time in your life, for whatever reason it may be, even though I'm just some guy on the internet who waffles about music in his free time, know that I will always be a friend, ally, and a shoulder to lean on whenever you need me. So take care of yourselves, take care of each other, spread the love, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.